Has anybody attended Vipassana?
Yes, I had attended 10 or 15 years back.
Okay. Others are planning to attend?
I had booked once, had to cancel. I do plan later maybe.
So it's okay if I spoil some things for you. This will be a little bit of spoilers.
No, it's already spoiled. A lot of my relatives have done it.
Okay. No, but I don't know whether they would have told you what I will tell. They will tell you, oh, they give food only 2 times a day. They will not give food after this time, blah, blah, blah. They're only talking about food mostly. And they won't allow you to talk and all those things.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
going to talk about the basis of the practice itself. I won't reveal the practice itself, but some basis of it. Because that was kind of, I liked it. I was very thrilled when I understood what was happening. It's very simple, but still I could see the genius behind that. If you see a toy which can be keyed, and once you key it and once you release the key, it will start doing a certain action. It will either clap or it will run or something it does to unwind itself. And when the unwinding is complete, it stops. Then you wind it again, you give the key again, you wind it again, you release it, it will again unwind itself. So whatever energy you store into it, it only gets expressed in that limited action. There's a mechanical design there. So it stores energy in a particular way. It releases also in that particular way only. That's all it can do. Whatever energy you supply to it, that's all it can do. Now, that's a very, very basic example. You can complicate it a little more. There are more complicated toys which can do few more things. But still, whatever the toy can do is a limited set of actions. It will unwind itself only in that particular way. So from the mechanical spring, it became circuits, then it became chips, and then it became whatever. It's becoming more and more sophisticated. But the elementary mechanism is the same. Energy gets stored in a particular pattern, it gets spent in a particular pattern. So when you look at such a thing, it doesn't matter how complicated and how complex it becomes. It is still, you will see that it is mechanical, it is robotic. If it becomes very, very sophisticated, you will call it artificial intelligence, but still it is running in patterns. It's every action in this movement is coming from that stored memory, which is a bunch of patterns. So when you see this happening outside with machines, you very easily notice that, okay, this is robotic. No matter how sophisticated it becomes, it is still robotic. Now, if you look at most of human life, not entirety, most human beings and most of their life, not all of their life, is not very different from this. It's running in patterns. It may be much, much more sophisticated than the artificial intelligence we have. Probably the gap is gone now. Everybody's talking about the ChatGPT. Maybe the gap has gone or it has reduced or whatever. So you can see that most human beings, most of their lives is not very different from this artificial intelligence. It is in some kind of action-reaction mode. It's very simplistic to put it as action-reaction because that reaction would have put on layers and layers. It could have become a very complex chess game if you ask, if you put it that way. It would have become a very complex program. It will be very sophisticated, but still it will be happening in some kind of reaction mode. So how we mostly experience ourselves is as a bundle of patterns, as a bundle of grooves. So whatever stimulus comes, reaction will come from those imprints which are making us run in certain patterns. And this is what makes us feel limited. This is what makes us feel bound. This is what makes us feel suffocated. This is what makes us feel sorrowful and miserable, and so many things. So many things will fall out of this limitedness, because bondage is the fundamental misery that human beings suffer. See, sometimes you may even stay inside your house. You may not go out of your house for a week sometimes, but that doesn't matter, because just the fact that you can go out whenever you want is enough. That is freedom. But now, if somebody says there is 1 week lockdown, you can't go out, that starts feeling like a bondage, because now the key is in somebody else's hands. You are being forced to stay inside. Even otherwise, you may not have gone out, but that doesn't matter now, because somebody else is pushing you in. Freedom is our most valued thing in life, and bondage is our most fundamental misery. Now, we may have the freedom to walk out of our houses. Nobody may be stopping that. But we don't have the freedom to walk out of the grooves that we have set for ourselves. Very, very complex grooves it may be, but still there are grooves. So reactions are happening in the groove. We are running in those grooves, and that naturally feels like bondage. But we don't know that this is what is causing our bondage. And therefore, we blame something else for our bondage, for our sorrow, and we go on wrestling with the world for it, to get our freedom, to get our happiness. Now, this is one point, the fundamental point, that what gives us bondage, what makes us feel bound, is that we are a set of patterns. Presently, we experience ourselves as a set of patterns. We are a set of imprints. If you put it in another word, instead of patterns, you can say imprints. Imprints means energy has been stored in a particular pattern, and now whatever you do, it will run in that imprint only. It won't be a conscious response. So this is what you can call as unconsciousness. When you're running in patterns and reactions, that's what unconsciousness is. And consciousness means you are no more running in a pattern. Stimuli may come, but you will respond to it, seeing many factors. What is the best thing to do now? You won't be running out of your stored pattern. Now, this is one thing. This is a fundamental thing. Now, the next question will come, okay, this is the problem. That I am a bundle of patterns. I experience myself as a bundle of patterns, as a set of grooves. You can call it as dead energy, energy which is fossilized. It's not available to you. Instead of that, you are available to it. It is making whatever you are presently doing, it is making you run in particular patterns. So that energy is not available to you. So you can call it as dead energy in one way. So this is the problem, and the question will come, okay, what to do? How to come out of the grips of this dead energy? There are many approaches to handle this. In Hatha Yoga, you directly address the energy aspect itself. It will happen in various ways. But I did not know actually about what Buddha's way was, what exactly his way was. I knew that they called his way as the path of awareness. That is the way of awareness, path of awareness. But I didn't really know what characterized it or how it is exactly different from Jnana Yoga or any other path. It's part of Jnana Yoga, you can say, but it is not entirely inquiry, because there is a very specific method being given. Now, the contribution of spiritual masters. See, there are some people who see only this much. They see that there is a problem, there is bondage, and then they see there is freedom. They don't see what links these two, what you have to do to go from here to there. So there are many, you can say, self-realized people who cannot really guide others they have just somehow come to that realization. They have just somehow come out of those grips of that bondage, but they cannot tell others how to do it. They will just say, oh, it's so obvious, you can do it. In Buddhism also, I didn't know about this. In Buddhism also, this is differentiated. They differentiate this as Samyak Buddha and Pratyeka Buddha. Samyak Buddha means an enlightened one who can guide others, who has gone through the entire mechanics and he can see the link so clearly. There is clarity as to how things are happening, how bondage is happening, how you can reverse it. Such a man can guide someone else. And the other category of Buddhas are called as Pratyeka Buddha. Pratyeka Buddha means separate Buddha, lonely Buddha who cannot guide anybody. And even if he tries, he can't. So there are many spiritual masters who looked into the mechanics of how these things are happening and they offered a solution. So the contribution of Gautama Buddha is that he offered one kind of solution. That's not the only kind of solution. I can myself see it, it's not the only kind of solution. But it's a very simple method. I don't know the advantages, disadvantages, blah, blah, and all these things compared to other methods. But I can see it's a very simple method, and you can, the testimony is the success of it in his lifetime. It almost covered the entire North India. Everybody was practicing. In his lifetime, only everybody took it, almost everybody. So what his contribution was, he understood the mechanics of how this is happening. Now, I just told you the basic thing, that reactions are happening, and that's what is making us feel bound, that presently we are a set of reactions. He saw something more. He looked into this whole thing and he saw something more. Now, this is something I don't think it is there in any other scriptures. I don't know. Whatever I have read, I have not seen it in this specific way. So how he describes mind is, he lists many things. He lists all the elementary constituents of the mind. I don't think 120 something. He does. Even all that I don't know. But one of the fundamental things he talks about is 4 parts of the mind. He calls this in Pali language, and probably it is relatable to some of the Samskrita words. He calls these 4 parts of the mind as Vijnana, Sanya, Vedana, and Sankara. Vijnana means, I say this talk is not to get you into philosophy. I am giving you I'm talking about the bare minimum to get you to understand something. This is not to get into philosophy, because even in that Vipassana course, then they don't encourage any kind of philosophical talk. They will give you the bare minimum to make you understand the practice itself. That's all. They don't talk about Buddha's shunyata, anatma, blah, blah. They don't talk of it. They say unless you proceed, you progress in that practice. How much ever you progress in the practice, that much of words they will give you. They won't give you more words. So I'm not telling these words to go into some intellectual game. The bare minimum I'm trying to give. So Vijnana means when a stimuli comes and hits you, now don't talk of the mind as a separate entity, your whole system. When a stimuli comes and hits, it creates ripples, it creates something, some disturbance in the system. Waves, ripples, whatever you call it, however you call it. That is, you can call in English as cognition. I will differentiate how the next ones are different. You can call this as cognition, and this is pure objective cognition, devoid of any subjective discoloring. It is just the ripples that have been created because of a stimulus, nothing else. This is the first part of the mind, which is pure objective cognition. The second part is called sanya. Sanya means based on your memory stored, that huge memory bank which is there. This new stimulus which has come will be compared with your memory bank, and it will be recognized. You can call it as recognition. Vijnana is cognition, sanya is recognition. When recognition happens, many things happen. You will give a name to it. Okay, this is this. The sound came and it was pure cognition, just a cognition of a sound to begin with. And then you recognized it as voice, as somebody's voice. You gave it a name, whatever. You recognized it in many ways. That happened because of comparison with the memory bank that is already there. And immediately after that, as soon as recognition happens, the third part will activate itself. That's called Vedana. Vedana means, you can say in English, a sensation. As soon as there is recognition, a sensation will arise in you, in your whole system, not just mind. A sensation will arise. You will either feel pleasant or unpleasant. You will feel, you will have a sensation out of that recognition. Now, these three things happen, it is said, that without your control. These three things happen just like that. Before you know it, it happens. After sensation has happened, the fourth part comes into action, and that is, in Pali, it's called as Sankara. I think it has come from Samskrita Samskara. I don't know, not sure. It sounds similar. And Sankara in English, they have translated as reaction. Sankara means, now, if it is a pleasant sensation that has happened because of your recognition, immediately you will involve in it. You will cling to it. You will try to continue it. You will do something. You will react to it. If it is unpleasant, you will try to push it away. You will try to run away. You will try to suppress it. You will try to do something about it. You will react either way. Now, when you react, that causes another stimulus. That stimulus causes another recognition. It causes another sensation. And the sensation again causes reaction, and the chain continues. It's very simplistically, I'm saying. Now, this is how it continues. I will explain it further with an example. I'm just giving you the basis of it. Now, the chain will continue. Now, what Gautama discovered, or what he discovered that we can do to stop it, is these first three, we cannot do anything with them. But the fourth one, the reaction part, can be stopped. When sensation happens, if you don't react, that particular sankara, or that particular stimulus which gave rise to the sankara, that particular sensation, will vanish. A part of your pattern will empty itself if you don't react. If you react, the pattern will reinforce itself. If you react either way, you try to avoid it or cling to it, you do anything, the pattern will reinforce. If you don't react to it, the sensation will arise and it will pass away, and with it, some of your automated imprints will pass away. It will go for good. Now, this is the basic idea. Now, this process of Vijnana, Sanya, Vedana, and Sankara, you can apply to all kinds of stimulus, all the 5 sensory inputs, plus your psychological inputs of thoughts, emotions. You can yourself keep on generating inputs by yourself, even if inputs are not coming. So all the 6. Now you see, it's very easy to understand this with your thought process. When you sit still, trying not to have any sensory inputs, you close all your sensory inputs, you're in a silent room. Eyes are closed and everything. Now sensory stimulus are not happening. Now the 6th one will start. Your manas will start. Your mind will start giving you inputs. It will give cognition. A thought will come. Now these 3 will happen immediately. As soon as a ripple happens in your mental space, whatever you call as thought, cognition, recognition, sensation, these 3 happen immediately. Suppose you thought of your child. Immediately there is a pleasant sense. The cognition, recognition, sensation happen just like that, and there is a pleasant sensation. And immediately you react to it, wanting to continue it. The moment you react to it, the thought continues. And there is a continuity of thought. You will involve in the thought, and the thought process continues. Similarly, if you try to avoid also, another kind of reaction happens and thought process continues in another way. So whenever sensations are produced, you thought of something, you felt nice, you immediately reacted to it. And reaction means you produced another thought. You continued the thought. That thought again produced a sensation. You liked it. You continued it. This chain will continue. Your thought process is continuing. So this is an example I am giving for what's happening, how the chain is happening. It's very easy to understand with your thought process, how the chain continues. So reacting to your thought means another thought. There is nothing else. In whatever way you exert yourself, it means another thought. However you exert yourself psychologically, it will just go on producing another thought and another thought and another thought. You will just become endless wrestling. The wrestling match will never get over. The more you wrestle with it, the more thoughts will be produced. The continuity will happen. The patterns will get reinforced. You basically, simply put it simply, you cannot think yourself out of thinking. It will continue. It is something like, in some of these children's stories, there will be a monster. And that monster's characteristic is that the more you fight it, the more stronger the monster gets. I think they got that from the characteristic of thoughts only. The more you fight with the thoughts, the more you are reacting, and that's only going to create more thoughts. So I'm giving a simpler example to understand those 4 parts of the mind. Now the next question is, okay, how to stop this? When sensation happens, how to be without reacting? And a simplistic solution that people may come up with, I think some people even prescribe this kind of thing. They will say meditation means simply observing your thoughts and not getting involved with them. Have you heard such things? I have heard, but I don't know who exactly. That you have to, meditation that's considered to be one of the kinds of meditation, that where you simply sit, observe your thoughts and don't involve with them. Don't react to your thoughts. Let thoughts come and pass. Let thoughts come and pass. See, theoretically, it should work. The thought has come. It will produce a sensation in you, but you don't want to react. You want to be, whatever is it called, witness attitude. Simply observe the thoughts as a witness. And the thought will pass. Another will come. Simply witness, it will pass. And they say, if you do it like this, the energy of this mechanism, automated thought mechanism, will weaken and thoughts will reduce and reduce. But it is very difficult. One reason is, whatever you are calling as thought is already a very manifest form of this entire process. For example, when you think of a person, the thought of the person is a very manifest form. It may be creating a pleasant, unpleasant sensation in you. But because it's a well-formed thought, you have a person and there is a lot of history between you and that person, the momentum behind that sensation is so much, the momentum, because of the vividity of it, it's so vivid. The momentum and the force behind it is so much that you cannot be a witness. Even if you manage to be a witness for some time, for some thoughts, if you observe what happens, if you don't react to some of the weaker thoughts, some of the very not so exciting thoughts, you will see thoughts will start getting more and more stronger. They'll become more and more exciting thoughts, which will make you react in some way. They will either become too disgusting, or they'll become too pleasant, something. They will not allow until you react, because this automated mechanism, its fundamental program is survival instinct. It cannot survive without your participation. It has become an organism of its own, and if you don't react to it, it cannot sustain itself. It will go on dying. and it does not want to die. And because it does not want to die, it will give you stronger and stronger stimulus. Until you involve, it will not give you. So at some point you will involve and you will start flowing with it. And that cycle will continue of sensation and reaction will continue. It will suck you in at some point. It's very difficult. And the other problem with this is, even if you manage to do this witnessing business with your thoughts, if you go on simply observing your thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, this process is not, it's kind of never ending, because whatever you are calling as these thoughts, whatever is the stimulus of mental stimulus of thoughts that you're calling as thoughts or emotions, that is only the superficial layer of what's the whole mechanism is. This cognition, recognition, sensation, and reaction is happening at many layers under the carpet without your knowledge. And that is happening. Even now it's happening. Even with sensory stimulus, it's happening. So much of stimulus is coming and bombarding the system. Cognition, recognition, sensation, reaction is happening, and I don't know about it. It's happening. I know only the conscious one, some sound, some vision, some thoughts. I know only that. So if you try to say, I will witness only this conscious part of the mind, it's never ending, because you may exhaust. You may vent it out by not involving it with this process at the one layer, the superficial layer. You may be exhausting some of it, but you're constantly accumulating. This process is being reinforced without your knowledge at deeper layers. So this is a never-ending process, observing thoughts. It won't end, because thoughts is not the only layer where these four parts of the mind or four parts of what you are is functioning. It's happening at other levels also. So simply observing thoughts is not going to work. Now, this is where Buddha's contribution is. We can't think and come up with the solution. Only somebody who has seen it firsthand can come up with the solution. When we say sensation, even without thoughts, a thought arose in you, cognition, recognition, sensation happened, and the sensation is not happening only at the what you call as the mental layer. The sensation is happening in you as a whole. When you thought of your child, there is a pleasant sensation in the whole body. It's not just a mental phenomenon. It's not an isolated phenomenon. People go on, intellectually, that's all people can do. They'll go mind. They won't know. They'll come to an end. They won't know what to do. Because intellectually, you can't come to a solution unless you have really perceived what actually is happening. So what he realized is that the sensation, whatever you call as Vedana or sensation, even with your sensory stimulus or with your thoughts or emotions, whatever, any cognition or recognition sensation, the moment these have happened, the sensation is not just psychological phenomenon. It's not just a mental thing. The sensation is happening in you as a whole. And whatever you call as the unconscious layer of the mind is not just in the mind. This whole churning, the unconscious cognition, recognition, sensation, is also happening in the body. Now you can't come to this intellectually. Now he saw that it is happening in the whole system. Mind is not an isolated entity. Sensation is happening in you as a whole. You can go to the unconscious layers of what you are using the body. If you enhance your focusing ability, if you enhance your attention level, you will be able to observe sensations happening in the body all the time. So what will happen is, I will not go into the exact method of how they do it, what they do. So what they basically do is, you look into the unconscious side of what you are through the body, by observing the body. When you, as the more keenly you observe the body, you go on keenly observing the body, you will start seeing sensations which were always there, but you didn't know of. Presently, you only know of sensations, very superficial sensations, which are happening on your body. If you start keenly, now don't start keenly observing and do Vipassana by yourself. It has many more technicalities to it. But if you start observing your body keenly and keenly, you will start seeing there is a whole mechanism happening in the body. You will see sensations happening. They are always happening. And your unconscious side was always reacting to it, creating more patterns, creating more sensations. It was going on without your knowledge. Now you brought it under your awareness. You became capable of shedding light into the unconscious part of what you are, and you saw the sensations happening under the carpet. Now, when you looked at these sensations, because now it is happening under your awareness, now you have the freedom not to react to them. Now, if you don't react to them, now it is as good as you are very gradually exhausting the deeper levels itself. It is no more just a superficial level. You are not simply witnessing thoughts. Thoughts is nowhere in the picture. They don't talk about thoughts at all, actually. So you use the body to remove this partition which somehow we have presently made. Presently, we have made this partition of conscious, subconscious, unconscious. But if you work on yourself, this partition will go. The conscious part will start observing the unconscious part of what you are. And when you don't react to it, that is getting exhausted. The partition between the conscious and unconscious will start weakening. You will start getting integrated. Here, the thing is, it is easier not to react to it. Because now this is not a very manifest and vivid form. It is just a kind of, it may become very pleasant, very unpleasant, whatever, but there is no vividity to it. Unlike the example I gave, when you think of a person you hate for some reason, it's a very vivid form. It's very difficult not to react to it because there's a lot of history behind that form and the momentum is very strong behind it. So when it has already come to this conscious level, when it is already a manifest thought form, it's very difficult not to react to that sensation that it is causing, pleasantness and unpleasantness. But when you go to the home of this whole process, it's like you're going to the enemy, to their fortress and attacking them there before they're prepared. Thought means it's most superficial form. The inner mechanism has done so much and only then thought is coming. It's like its attack has already happened on you and now you are trying to deal with it. It's very difficult to deal with it now. Whereas if you go to the fortress of this whole process, if you go to the source of it, now it's not prepared. The attack has not happened. You are going there and attacking it not as if you're reacting to it. See, whatever you say feels like you're doing something. I don't mean attacking means you do something. But if you observe the sensations at the very abstract level, before they are becoming very vivid, it's it's easier not to react. Of course, it will become very, very pleasant sometimes. And you will feel, oh, so nice, I want to repeat this. You may feel sometimes. If you get into that kind of mode, Vipassana is gone. So here, whatever happens, whether it is extremely pleasant or extremely unpleasant, extremely crude, whatever it is, it happens in the body. It's not no more a psychological thing. You are going on observing the body. And as you observe, now it is easier not to react. And it will pass. The thing is, it will pass. Even if it is very, very pleasant, it will pass. And then another pleasant may come, it will pass. So if you go on observing, it is like you are erasing your patterns. You are erasing your sankhara in Buddha's language. You are erasing your windings, programs, imprints, which are going on producing sensations, inviting you to involve with them. So if you don't involve, it is something like you are fasting that automation, that automated organism which is presently living its own life. You're fasting it. It will starve it, and then it will slowly weaken. You can at least see it is weakening. So this is the basis of Vipassana.